moment we met, we hit it off.
I didn't want to do this ever since I come on your show.
Somebody turned him on to magic tricks, and I was a magician, and so I gave him a couple. Wherever you were, waiting for an elevator, total stranger, he'd show them his red silk handkerchief, push it into his hand, and then it would be gone. I saw him do that 134 times, I think. We ate. He stayed at my house one night in Montauk, and that was fun. Mostly we just sort of joked around and had fun, and he was as good a friend as I had. I felt it was strange. Obviously, our backgrounds are the same.
Ali was the first product of the television age.
Who's the heavyweight champion of the world?
He had such charisma.
I know another interviewer who gets paid for being an idiot. What's your excuse?
Ali was on the show a whole bunch of times, and he came into the space where Dick worked. But there's also this wonderful day where Dick went to his training camp in Pennsylvania, and it was filmed for use on the show. And the stuff they're doing there is just so much fun and so insane. And Dick can even tell the lovely story about the prank Ali played on him at that point. But I love the idea of Dick getting in the ring with him and horsing around, and he's pretending. I mean, I know Dick can probably jump rope reasonably well, but he's pretending that he can't, and Ali's making fun of him. It's such a joy to watch that footage of Dick at the training camp, but he could probably tell you more about that.
He lived, his training camp was made out of logs. It was like a Western building, 4 or 5 buildings, and he loved to say that something was antique. So he'd say, Dick, this is my old antique pump. This is my old antique, this is my old antique coffee grinder. This is my old antique. He was so damned cute, a repulsive word, but in his case, it applied in a wonderful way.
I just love that Ali was comfortable being that with him, because I don't see that. I looked at a lot of footage of Ali the last few years, and I just don't see him being like a kid. He's almost acting like they're just kids having fun together. It's different. It's a different look at Ali.
He was funny, and at times he went over the line.
Let me tell you something, boy. Somebody told me you better. I said, Roy.
Well, that might be a good place to stop.
The first time we actually met in the flesh was working for the Jerry Lewis show in Hollywood, and I was a writer there. And Ali came in one day and did the show as a guest on the show. In fact, I got to write, because he had his silly little poems he always recited, I said to Jerry, why don't you let me write some new poems for Ali? And I did, some of them a little long. They built a Roman forum-like thing for him to hold forth in. His greatness was sensible when you were with him. He became the most famous person in the world, and they proved that. Somebody put together, I think, the 20 most recognizable faces at the time, and some like Charlie Chaplin, the President of the United States, the top movie stars. And the only picture that those who couldn't recognize anybody in them, not Jackie Kennedy, not Ali, the most famous person in the world.
Dick Cavett gave blacks a chance to be heard, which was rare.
The thing that you all have done to us is worse than the devil you told us about under the ground.
I think what was rare about the Dick Cavett Show at its time was it was an era with just 3 networks. We can't imagine a world without the 24-hour cable news cycle. People used to get their news out of the newspaper in the morning. It's a different media now. And with someone like Ali was being interviewed in the early 70s when he was going through all of his troubles with being convicted of draft evasion, etc., he didn't really have a lot of places to go, and there were certain shows that just wouldn't have him. They wouldn't let him come on and say the things he wanted to say. So Cavett was a rarity in that small little media world, and Ali took great advantage of it. And to my great surprise and amazement, they became good buddies.
One of the most interesting parts, aspects of the documentary is, in the first part, you see a lot of stuff that most people wouldn't know in any detail about Ali, about his time with Elijah Muhammad, the time they wanted him to be a black Muslim, all of that. He does a good job of putting away a documentary.
He's a little biased, but yes. Yeah. It was great fun to put it together, and the great challenge was there is so much incredible material with Ali and Cavett that getting it down to a manageable length was the toughest part. Because everything of those two guys on camera is just magical. They're just incredible together on camera. It's almost like they were a working team.
We're kind of the Burns and Allen of... he would laugh at that.
He was the person who was defying American imperialism, who spoke out against racism.
You don't always think of a fighter as intelligent. Not that I'm offending fighters, I hope, but Ali was really a brilliant guy.
One of the themes that came out in the interviews I did with people who covered Ali and who knew Ali and basically who admired Ali was he was an incredible show business personality and a really smart guy. And at the point where he was starting to become impaired from fighting for too long, he had an opportunity to just stop fighting and continue to be Muhammad Ali. Yeah. And there's even a touching moment on one of the later shows where Dick says, "You're here tonight to tell us you're never going to fight again." And he just makes a joke out of it and basically suggests that Dick is an idiot for suggesting such a thing. But a lot of the people I interviewed came to that same sad conclusion that he didn't need boxing to be who he was. He had transcended that and become this all-purpose entertainment, social media figure, we would call it today. Ali could have done anything he wanted to, and he could have quit boxing way earlier and probably had fewer health problems down the road. But it wasn't something that was on his radar at the time. He just thought he had to keep doing it.
Yeah. Somebody said a fighter likes to fight. I wish he had quit much sooner. He paid a price for the damage it did. And all of the big advisors and coaches and masseurs probably and everybody around him said, you really ought to, pack it in. You're way, way ahead of the game. You won't always be, But he didn't, and it's too bad. Some of the very greatest people actually do have a kind of almost a visible or feelable aura sitting next to you. I swear it's mysterious. And Ali had a lot of it. I promise you, and this will sound crazy, but if he came from behind you right now, you would sense it before he got to you.
There was a time in my life when it felt like he was my best friend.
Knowing you is one of the nicest things in my life.
You were really my main man.